Today I have the TT Artisans 100mm f2.8 macro lens. Now this is a new lens. TT Artisans did send me this lens for review, but you know the deal, guys. They have no input or anything like that, but they did send me the lens, just so you know. Here's what it looks like. So it's a pretty beefy lens. It weighs in at 1.6 pounds or 748 grams. Has this nice lens cover here, which I kind of like, lens cap. And you can see the front element there. This is a 67mm filter thread, just to let you know. Now this is a fully manual lens, guys, so you're gonna have to physically turn this to adjust the focus, and same thing with the aperture. It's a clicked aperture. As you can see there, it's got a nice click to it too, so you're not going to accidentally turn that. It also has screw holes here on the front, so you can mount stuff like ring lights and things like that. It also comes with this little adapter here that turns it into a cold shoe, basically, so you can screw this on. It's got this little lever. Something like this, for example, you can just slide that in, and now you have a light mounted to the lens, which is very helpful, especially with macro photography, because you do need a little bit of extra light. So this is all metal here. It feels really good in the hands. Like I said, it is quite heavy. The focus ring is a little bit tight, but it has loosened over the course of me using it. I've had this lens for about 2 months. I really like to put lenses through their paces. I could definitely bang out a review much faster if I wanted to, but I really like using the lenses for a longer period of time. And this way I have way more sample photos to show you for those that really want to deep dive into the image quality of this lens. So it's got the etched scales on here, which I really like as well. So this is a full frame lens. It's available for Sony E, Nikon Z, Fuji X, Leica L, and Canon RF. It's also a telephoto prime lens, so you could use this lens for portraits and things like that, and it works really good in that regard as well. I actually took some portrait style video for you to check out, which you can see here of me, and this footage is shooting into the sun, and I was using my phone to check the focus, so I'm kind of looking at my phone trying to figure out where focus is. It is kind of hard to do by yourself, no doubt about it, but that's what this looks like. And again, I was pretty impressed with it, especially considering shooting towards the sun like that. So it's got a 12 blade aperture diaphragm in there. You can see it in the bottom there. So the more blades, the rounder the bokeh rendering is going to be, especially when stopped down. When you're wide open, it doesn't really matter. But when you're stopped down to like f8, f5.6, which is where I was using this lens most of the time, you still get that very pleasing, smooth background out of focus rendering, and the aperture blades really help with that. So big fan of that. So this actually has 14 elements in 10 groups for those interested in the glass inside the lens. And for a minimum focus distance or a working distance, we're looking at 9.5 inches or 25 centimeters. Now that is from the focal plane on the camera, remember, not the front of the lens. So the front of the lens is actually only like 2 inches away at the minimum focus distance. So right here is 2x, and you can see just how close I got to that quarter. It's gigantic. So that's really cool, and 2x magnification is awesome for getting that extra close detail. All right, guys, so I want to show you what this lens can do, so let's just get right into the sample photos and video. This is crazy looking. Look at this. Hey there, buddy. It's like the worst I could get it is to bloom like that. So there is definitely some flaring. 12 blade aperture. Alright guys, so here we are in Lightroom, and again up here is the EXIF data, so you can see the shutter speed and the ISO, but because this is a fully manual lens, you're not going to see, you know, the aperture, so that's not going to show up. So I'm pretty much shot most of these at most of the bug photos and stuff, I was at like f11, f8. For a lot of the other stuff, I was testing, so I'll let you know what it is because I did consecutive shots so I could see which one is f2.8, f4, f5.6, and so forth. So let's just get right into it. So first couple of shots I took, these are raw files, by the way, so they're going to look flat unless I edited them. So this was just like one of those work carts at work. And if you zoom in here, you can see just how shallow the depth of field is. It's pretty insane. I thought it looked kind of cool. Now, just walking around outside, I found this little snail type thing on top of this drum, this steel drum. There was like water on top of it, and it was like floating around. But look at this thing. It's pretty cool, right? And we're talking tiny. Like this thing was so tiny, you know, like 1/8 of an inch probably, the size of this, for reference. Here's just another one, flat, so you can see the difference. Here's one a little bit edited. If I zoom in, this was like a day later, I think, and the water evaporated a little bit. Actually, it was probably the same day. But that's what this looks like. And this is so cool because you could see stuff that's just so tiny that you normally wouldn't be able to see it. And now this is just an example of how insanely shallow the depth of field is on a lens like this when you're so close due to the magnification. Again, 2 times magnification, 100 millimeter. It's pretty impressive stuff. Here's another example. Now here's just looking at an LCD monitor, and I wanted to show you this because you can actually see a little bit of the pincushion distortion here. So if I hit the R key to bring up the lines, you can see a little bit better how it does have that little bit of distortion there. It's not that bad, you know, but at this close of a distance, you do see it a little bit. If I was a little further away, it'd be much harder to notice. But anyways, that's what that looks like. Now, look at what this looks like at 1:1. That's pretty cool, right? This is actually 2:1. It's not 1:1. So this is an incredible macro zoom, and this is what LCDs actually look like when you look at them. Now, it doesn't look like that. We actually see images on them when we're looking at them, you know, from our normal viewing distance. Now, here's just a 9-volt battery, and I just zoomed in here on the actual contact so you can just see the insane sharpness and detail of that shiny metal. Here's another one. Again, I'll just zoom in really quick so you can see that detail. Very impressive stuff. I really like the color and clarity that this lens produces as well. Now, here's just a tiny little snail that was on my screen door. And for reference, look how small this thing is. Very, very tiny. So here's the edited version here. I just zoomed in a little bit, and that's what it looks like edited. And you can see that looks pretty darn good, in my opinion. Very sharp, clear, and so forth. Here's just another raw photo. Now, the next day, this guy had a little friend on top of him. I wasn't sure if he was eating him or what, but here's the raw file. Here's the edited file. And if I zoom in just a little bit, this is cropped in quite a bit already. Now, just for reference here, this is what the full frame shot looked like. And here is my finger next to it, just for scale. Here's just a leaf. Depth of field is crazy. Now, here's another one of a leaf. And I just wanted to show you that they have, like, this leaf has stuff like growing out of it. You could see here. I've never noticed that before, but I never really looked at a leaf that close. Here's just a broken bottle. There was like a piece of glass from a broken bottle. This piece of glass was about 1/2 of an inch in size, and I just focused here on the corner. Thought it looked pretty cool the way it rendered. A couple acorns. They're always fun this time of year. This one kind of unspiraled, which I thought was kind of cool. It looked like a corkscrew on the ground. Lighting was pretty harsh. Now this one I thought was cool. This is kind of an abstract. This is actually just looking at the fins of an air conditioner, you know, condenser unit, like on the side. And so there's like these sharp, like really skinny fins. But I just like the way this came out. It almost looks like, I don't even know what. It's like an abstract, I would say. Not much there. Oh, this is Velcro. This is a tiny little piece of Velcro that holds wires together. Really tiny. And this is what it looks like. It's got these little hooks on there. And that's what grabs the fabric on the Velcro. Now, this is just an RJ48 cord. You might be familiar with these if you work with computers and, you know, Ethernet type stuff. And you can see the little copper in there on the individual wires, which is crazy. This thing is about 1/2 of an inch, it's like almost the size of my thumbnail pretty much is what the size of this plastic thing is. Now, here's just another acorn. This one was intact and it had pretty good lighting, so I just wanted to show you what this looks like. Don't worry, we're getting to some bugs and stuff soon. So here's a frog. I actually got some video footage of this frog as well. So here's a slightly edited raw file here. And this is as close as I could get to the frog. I was afraid it was going to jump away. So this is about a 1:1. I would have liked to have gotten closer, but again, I didn't want the frog to hop away. So this is how that came out. And then I zoomed in on that photo, and here's what that looks like. So this is pretty incredible stuff, if you ask me. Now, in the morning on the way out, there's dew on the top of my car. So this is actually the sunroof. And I just thought this looked cool, like the depth of field play, the way the background out of focus specular highlights render. And this was at 2:1. So this is as close to the minimum focus distance as I could get here. And now here I just moved away a little bit so you could see how small the actual droplets were. So again, you still can't even see the full sunroof. So these were tiny little droplets. Now here's just a piece of old steel. And again, I wanted to zoom in here so you can see just the incredible sharpness on this rusty metal. You can see the line here, the depth of field line. Now this bug here was kind of stuck in a web. I needed to really underexpose the image a bit more. So this one, it almost looks translucent, but it's way overexposed. But again, I thought this rainbow flare effect kind of looked sort of cool on the out of focus area. So I wanted to show you that one. Now this is just a test photo so you can see the background blur. So you can see there, here's another one. And again, just the detail on the metal is ridiculous, how sharp it is. This lens is crazy sharp, I gotta say, corner to corner, very impressive stuff. This was actually the railing, and this is a tiny little spot, like maybe the size of an eraser head. And I thought it looked cool. It just looked like a little, I don't know, brain or something there. Now, this was just a little star sticker. There was a bunch of them on the ground, and this thing was very tiny. It was about 1/8 of an inch, I would say, maybe 1/4 of an inch. So that's what that rendered like. Here's another one of our frog friend. I went back a day later, and he popped out to say hi again, so I got a couple more shots. There he is. I like that one. He was a tiny little frog. He was probably about that big, I would say, so about the size of a quarter, maybe a little smaller than a quarter. Here's just this creepy spider. This was right by the frog, actually, and this is cropped in all the way. If I go to R, I can show you the original. Oh, this is the edited one here. Hang on. Yeah, so you could see here, this is the full frame. So you could see how I have it cropped. So that's as close as I wanted to get because the spider kept moving. Anytime I got close, it would just move. So I decided to move further back and just crop in. So this is what the final image looks like. And I was pretty happy with it. Now, there was just a hole in the ground, and this was in front of it. I don't know what this was, but it was some kind of bug, I guess. So I edited it here, and this is the edited photo. I thought this came out pretty good. Now here's one. There was a spider down here sneaking in this hole, and I like the way this looked with his legs and stuff. Now here's just a bug that was on these berries, and this bug kind of looks like a mangy bug. I don't even know. Kind of looks like it's dead, but it actually did fly away when I got close. Looking down at some flowers here, I thought this was interesting. These are kind of like weeds, actually, but they kind of looked interesting, I thought. Now, here's just a steel cable. It's a small cable, about 1/4 inch thick cable, and just wanted to show you how that renders here. Looks pretty cool. And this is just some kind of bug. I don't know what it is, stink bug or something. Thought it looked kind of interesting. And you can see here, this is one that I played with a little bit. It's a raw file, but I edited a little bit. And you can zoom in here, and you can see it kind of looks like he's giving me like this weird sideways glance when I put the lens in front of him. But he didn't move. He was one of those bugs that didn't move. Now this was a really cool looking grasshopper. It actually reminded me of Groot from that movie. Just the way he looks, he kind of looks like wood. And I really thought this came out awesome. I mean, it's just very cool. He was very friendly. He hung out for a while and let me photograph him, which was quite nice. Kind of felt like I was communicating with this thing, sort of. Now, here's an HDR that I edited. So I took 3 frames at multiple exposures and combined them to get this HDR. And I really just wanted to bring out more of the color detail on the grasshopper. But it really looked more like this in the real world. The HDR is a little bit exaggerated, just so you know. But anyways, that's what that looks like. Now, I came across this creepy ass spider. This thing was very big. This was probably about the size of a quarter, I would say. So I got pretty close to it and was able to get some decent shots of it. Handheld, by the way. I was doing this stuff handheld, most of this stuff. Here's another one here. You can see he's got like 4 holes there. I don't know if that's his butt or what. Came across this daddy long leg, and he stopped and posed for me, and you can see just how sharp that is. Pretty cool looking creature. Those massive legs. Now here we went into the lab scene. This is what it looks like at the minimum focus distance, 2x magnification. So you can see how shallow the depth of field is, that the thicker part of the quarter is blurry, and the eye is pretty much in focus. So you can see when I zoom in, right here is sharp, but you know, the tip of the nose is not. So just the thickness of the quarter, that's how thin depth of field we're talking here. So that was at f2.8, this one was at f4, this one was at 5.6. Even at f8, the depth of field still isn't enough for this sliver of quarter because I was at the minimum focus distance, you know, 2 times magnification. It's crazy shallow depth of field. Now, I just wanted to show you this one of a dime. This one was a little more shiny, the dime, so I wanted to show you that here. And you can see if I zoom in, I'm focused like right around the S area. So here's f2.8. Now I want to show you how the background comes into focus as I stop it down. So here's f4, here's f5.6, here's f8, here's f11, here's f16, and here is f22. So you can see the dollar bill in the background there. Now, I was shooting this one at an angle so I could show you again just how shallow the depth of field is. So I took 10 shots and I wanted to show you how focus stacking works because, because the depth of field is so shallow, if I want to get this whole dime sharp, I'm going to need to take multiple frames and focus stack. So what I did was I focused on this part of the dime right here on the left edge. And what I did was I just changed the focus and focused through each spot of the dime. As you could see here, you could see how different parts of the dime are becoming sharp. So that is the stack. So I took about 10 shots. So watch this. I'm going to highlight all of them. I'm going to go to Edit In, and I'm going to go Open as Layers in Photoshop. So here we are in Photoshop, and here are all the layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Auto Align Layers. And I'm just going to do Auto, click OK. These were taken at f2.8, by the way, guys, so the depth of field is extremely shallow on each one of these shots. Alrighty, so the auto align is complete. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Auto Blend Layers. And see this one where it says Stack Images? I have that selected. Seamless Tones and Content Aware Fill. I'm going to leave those checked. Click OK. And now it's going to stack all the images into one composite. Let's just give me a warning there. That's fine. Okay. So see what I'm saying here? Now I got a composite image here on the top. So you could see all the masking that went on here. And it basically uses just parts of each one to try to get the maximum sharpness. See that? How it's doing that? So that's how that works. And then it combines it in this composite. And if we zoom in here and we could move around, you could see it looks pretty good. It doesn't look perfect because I didn't really do a good enough job taking enough photos to get a perfectly sharp image across the entire dime here. But I just wanted to show you the concept of how focus stacking works. So again, what I should have done for this shot to get a better result would be have the lens set to f8 or f5.6, even f4, and taken more shots. So I had an f2.8 and I only took 10. At f2.8, I probably would have needed to take like 20 shots to get a maximum perfectly sharp composite image with this dime at an angle. But as you can see here, looking at it from this distance, it pretty much looks perfectly awesome and perfectly fine in my opinion. So again, I just wanted to show you really quick how focus stacking can work for you in Photoshop using Photoshop and Lightroom if you have it. So looking at the dollar bill here, you can see just how sharp this is. It's incredibly sharp and the detail on the dollar bill is amazing. If I go to the right, I'm just going to stop it down. So you can see this is f4. It gets a little bit sharper. Here's f5.6, just a little bit sharper. And here's what f8 looks like. Not really much of a difference there. So now again, here is at 2 times magnification. And if we zoom in on this crayon, you can see the fabric of the crayon is just incredible. Like it seems so smooth, you know, to the normal human eye, but at this macro distance, now this is at 1:1, you can see just how incredible detail those crayon, cases have. Now here's just one of a pencil here. I just wanted to focus on here so you can see what the wood looks like and stuff. Pretty darn cool. I actually missed the focus of the tip of the thing, but I just wanted to show you how close you can get. This is at 2:1 as well, and the minimum focus distance was actually right about here. So I needed to move the pencil a little further away to get the tip sharp. But anyways, check out this eraser. So zooming in, this is at f8, and this is at f2.8. So you can see the difference in detail of the pencil and the background just by changing the aperture. Now here, I just want to show you guys quickly the bokeh ball renderings as I stop down the lens. So this is f2.8, this is f4, this is f5.6, and notice how the curvature of the bokeh balls is maintaining that circular really well due to the 12 blades. Now this is f8, f11, f16, f22. Now here's just one looking at one of those actual light bulbs that you were just looking at here. So these little lights, this is one of those. So this is what it looks like up close, but it's a tiny little light. It's only about 1/2 inch, I would say. So now this is what it looks like, the whole light. This is what it looks like zoomed in a little bit. And now here, I just wanted to take a photo of the filament itself. So I put the camera metering mode on highlight metering, and then I just underexposed a little bit. And this is what the actual element inside that tiny little light bulb looks like when it's on. And you can see it's like a coil, you know, of like glowing metal. So I just went outside this morning in the very bright sun, and I just wanted to test some flaring and stuff like that. So this was just shooting directly into the sun, extremely harsh lighting, and you can see it looks pretty good. I do see a tiny bit of fringing here, purple fringing, not really much to write about, but it is there. Now here, I just wanted to show you, I took a couple of shots of this weed, and again, I was kind of shooting towards the sun. The sun was up to the right a little bit, and so this was like a backlit subject. But again, you could just see the little tiny details here, how sharp they are. It's absolutely remarkable, the sharpness of this lens. Now stop down, so here's wide open 2.8, here's f4, here's f5.6, and here's f11. Now walking down the trail here, I found this little weed, and I zoomed in here just to focus. I thought it looked pretty cool. So this is at f4, this is at f2.8, so you can see how the background changes that little bit. Now here's just a water droplet. I actually got some video footage of this. I'll show you right now. And you can see just how like that water is gathered up there on the leaf. Here's another one. And you can see kind of the reflection or the refraction in there is pretty cool. And the ISO is pretty high here, 12,800. I had a pretty fast shutter speed because this stuff was like moving just slightly with the breeze. Now I thought this one looked really cool, the dew on the leaves, and check out this water droplet. How you can see it's like another magnifying glass. So we're getting like a magnification of these dewdrops via the large dewdrop. Now here's just one of this, you know, weed here. Kind of looks like a cattail, but it's actually really small. And here's one behind it, just blurred out. Here's one shooting up towards the sky. Again, very, very sharp, great detail. Here's one just looking head on at it. And here's one stop down. So this is at f8 versus like f4. So you can see all the detail come back. Here's just one more rendering there. I just wanted to show you this scene real quick because it really does illustrate the vignetting issue. It's pretty significant here, f2.8. Now watch f4, opens up quite a bit. You can see that darkening goes away a lot. And then at f5.6, it's pretty much completely gone. All the way at f8, and the vignette is completely gone. So here's 5.6, you can see just a little creeping in. f4, f2.8. All right, guys, so at the end of the day, the TT Artisan's 100mm f2.8 macro lens is awesome, and it goes for about $320 approximately. So the value of this lens is unbelievable in my opinion. It is fully manual, so it's a little bit more challenging, obviously, to use than a fully autofocus lens, but autofocus lenses cost a lot more, and the optics on this lens are very good in my opinion. So you'd have to get something like the SONY 90mm f2.8G OSS macro lens if you want an autofocus lens that's, you know, close to as good as this one. And as far as optics go, and that's a pretty expensive lens. So for 300 something, you can get excellent results. And also using the manual focus ring tends to slow you down a little bit and enjoy the moment a bit more, I find, when shooting bugs and stuff like that in the field. Now, as far as some macro tips go, I just wanted to tell you that you really do need to raise your shutter speed up higher than you might think. Normally you want like the same as the focal length, like 1/100 minimum shutter speed. If you're not using a flash, I would highly recommend having the shutter speed at least double, like 1/200th of a second. I was shooting at 1/400th of a second a lot of the time because I just didn't want to take a chance. You know, sometimes stuff's moving, hand shaking, and at those macro magnifications, it's just more susceptible to be blurry. Now, if you are using a flash, which I was not, it's pretty cool because you can attach ring flashes and stuff to this lens. But what you can also do is just put a flash on top of the camera, and they make these diffusers that will actually diffuse the light. And the diffusers are, you know, quite large. They're like maybe 6 to 12 inches in size. So the flash will hit the diffuser, and that will create a gigantic light source to light up your tiny little bug. And another reason why you might want to use a flash is because it helps freeze the action. Remember, flashes fire so fast. They fire at like 1/20,000th of a second or something like that. So it'll freeze the action. So if the bug is moving around and stuff like that, it will be frozen still, even if you're hand holding and stuff. So it's very helpful for getting sharper shots, as opposed to just hand holding in natural light. You're gonna have to have a way higher shutter speed and way higher ISO. So please keep that in mind. For best results, I would definitely recommend using a flash, ring light, or an additional light source. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get like a pretty affordable flash unit for my A7C II, and I'll get one of those little diffusers, and I'm going to try using this macro lens in that fashion in the future and see if I can get some better results. But I was really happy with the results I got just using natural light. So, all right guys, that about wraps things up here. I really appreciate you checking out my video. Links below in the description area. I really appreciate you guys using those affiliate links. It helps me out quite a bit. I wanted to introduce you to my new dog, Buddy. Say hi, Buddy. Say hi, Buddy. He's a golden retriever. I just got him like 2 weeks ago. So I will catch up with you next time. All right, have a great day. Take care. No, he's such a good boy. Who's a good boy? Yeah, the buddy.